The movie began with a man named Luke who rode a scooter through the busy streets, carrying a leather tube on his back. Inside it was a valuable painting. As he rode, a car pulled up beside him. Inside were members of a dangerous gang. One of them, named Kasem, leaned out and informed Luke that their boss wanted the painting and demanded that it be handed over, but Luke refused. That was when the chase began. He sped up on the scooter, weaving through narrow markets and crowded roads. Eventually, he fell off the scooter. People nearby saw what was happening and started blaming the gang members, thinking they were attacking him. Taking advantage of the chaos, Luke ran away. The gang was forced to flee before things escalated further. After escaping, Luke jumped onto someone else's scooter and sped toward the railway station. He rushed inside and managed to catch a moving train just in time. Exhausted, he found a seat and quickly fell asleep. In his dream, he saw a strange metal plate, and suddenly his eyes began to glow. It felt as if the plate was calling to him, as though it was connected to him in some mysterious way. Luke woke up and found a girl named Esma sitting in front of him, watching him closely. She smiled and commented that he talked in his sleep. Luke looked at her with curiosity and asked about her occupation. She replied confidently that she searched for rare and valuable paintings, just like the one he carried in the tube. Luke became suspicious. The girl leaned closer and said that her people were nearby and asked him to hand over the painting, warning that things would turn unpleasant. But Luke remained calm. He looked around and noticed two monks sitting nearby. He warned that if she tried to harm him, the monks would retaliate, claiming they were with him. The girl smirked. As Luke placed the tube on the table, the girl pulled out a knife and grabbed it. Suddenly, someone from behind wrapped a belt around Luke's neck, trying to choke him. But Luke fought back and began struggling with the girl. During the scuffle, he asked if she worked for Kasem. The girl replied that she did not know who Kasem was. Realizing she might not be who she claimed, Luke overpowered her and locked her in a room on the train. Then he escaped through the door and stepped out of the moving train. After that, Luke called his friend, who informed him that a bus stop was nearby. Charlotte Perdue, Luke's estranged sister, was introduced. She worked as a respected museum curator, giving guided tours to children while inspecting ancient artifacts. Luke arrived at the museum. Charlotte was shocked to see him after many years. She expressed surprise at his return after such a long time. They talked about their childhood, recalling their father, a famous archaeologist. Then Luke leaned closer and mentioned that a painting in her museum hid a secret, a clue, something powerful. Charlotte became confused and said she knew nothing about it. Before she could react, Luke distracted her, moved swiftly through the gallery, and stole the painting without her noticing. She tried to stop him, but Luke escaped. Alarms blared, and Charlotte was left behind, calling for help, but it had already been too late. To avoid getting caught by the police, Luke jumped into his car. Charlotte joined him, and he sped away. Luke and his sister Charlotte went to another location where he met familiar people and showed them the painting. However, those people informed them that the painting had been a forgery. Following that, Luke knocked his sister unconscious and left her on a bench near the museum, choosing to return the painting on his own. There, Inspector Jamal Abbas told Charlotte that it appeared she was going to end up like her brother. Charlotte responded that she had never liked her brother and offered to help find him. But Inspector Jamal Abbas informed her that, for the time being, her job had been taken away. Charlotte returned home and reunited with her husband and son. Charlotte informed her husband that she had lost her job. He remarked that she should ask her brother Luke about it. Later, Charlotte visited Luke again. She went to Luke's place and met his team members. Among them had been Owen Carver, a very wealthy man who had been terminally ill with cancer. He had been funding the entire project, driven by his desperation to drink from the fountain of youth. At one point, Charlotte asked Luke why he had been doing all of it. Luke explained that they had stolen several ancient paintings from China, Austria, Malaysia, and once more from China. Those paintings contained hidden codes. If they could crack the full code, it would lead them to the fountain of youth. But the most crucial painting they had just acquired had turned out to be a fake. Charlotte, who had always dreamed of becoming an archaeologist like her father, chose to join the mission and became part of the team. In a small restaurant during the evening, Luke sat alone at a corner table, reading a book, half lost in thought. The lighting remained dim, and jazz music played softly in the background. Esme appeared and quietly slipped into the seat behind him. She leaned forward and whispered that he had escaped her in Malaysia, but this time he would not be as fortunate. Luke remained calm yet alert and asked whom she had been working for. Esme smiled coldly and said it had been Mr. Elder. She added that he desired the fountain's water even more than Luke did. Luke replied that she would need to crack the code first. Esme turned away and stated that she would crack the code. She walked off, her heels clicking softly as she disappeared into the night. Next day, Luke and Charlotte went to her son's music program, and there Luke convinced Charlotte to join his plan. Afterward, Luke's team boarded a ship and sailed toward an island in the Pacific Ocean. They located a sunken ship and used a submarine to help bring it back to the surface. Charlotte and Luke dove into the wreck, searching for the final missing painting. Just as they found it, Esme and her team launched a surprise attack. Charlotte and Luke managed to retrieve the painting, but as they attempted to escape, Esme cornered them. She held Charlotte at gunpoint and threatened Luke, demanding that he hand it over or she would kill Charlotte. Luke, keeping his composure, gave Charlotte a discreet signal. Charlotte lunged at Esme, disarmed her, and they escaped the wreck successfully. The team assembled the pieces of the ancient map they had collected. While decoding the text, they realized something critical. In ancient times, the letter V had been used to mean W. Following that clue, they searched for the location tied to the name Wicked Bible, which led them to Austria. As they continued decoding the map, Inspector Jamal Abbas and his officers arrived, surrounding them and preparing to make arrests. At that moment, Qasim and his gang burst in. Armed and smirking, Qasim declared that he had not been smart enough to track them himself, but Jamal Abbas had done it, and he had simply followed him there. He demanded the painting and insisted on being included in the map search. Luke remained calm and told him that if the painting was all he wanted, he could take it. As the tension grew and people around shifted nervously, Luke quietly raised the music volume using a nearby console. Jamal Abbas's officers suddenly seized the weapons from Qasim's gang. A fight erupted between the gang and the police. Amid the chaos, Luke and his team slipped away unnoticed. Later, Luke had a dream where he stood alone, holding a glass filled with water from the fountain of youth. He was about to drink it, his hand trembling slightly. Just before the glass touched his lips, he saw a vision of his sister Charlotte and her son Thomas. His hand froze in place. He woke up. High above the clouds in Owen Carver's private jet, Charlotte smiled and commented on how much nonsense he spoke in his sleep. Luke simply grinned. The aircraft moved steadily toward Austria in search of the Wicked Bible and the final clues that would lead to the Fountain of Youth. The team arrived in Vienna and began searching for the mysterious Wicked Bible. Owen Carver and Thomas sat at a restaurant, sipping coffee. Thomas, filled with curiosity, asked about Owen's wealth. Owen grinned and replied that the jet they had flown in belonged to him. He mentioned owning 2 jets, along with yachts, a villa, and safe houses in 2 different countries. Thomas listened in amazement, his eyes wide with disbelief. Inside the ancient Wicked Library in Vienna, Luke, Charlotte, and the rest of the team continued their search for the long-lost Wicked Bible. After an intense effort, they finally found it, a centuries-old book written by mysterious scholars. As they began studying it, they uncovered cryptic texts that revealed clues about the path to the Fountain of Youth. Without warning, Esme and her team arrived and caught them off guard. A brief but fierce fight broke out between Luke and Esme, during which several old artifacts were knocked over. Realizing they had to escape without damaging the ancient library, Luke's team quickly set up a one-directional controlled blast in the basement. It was designed only to create an exit path without harming the structure. They activated it in time and escaped through the tunnel, avoiding capture. Once safely back at their hotel, Luke, Charlotte, and the team regrouped with the Wicked Bible in their possession. At the hotel, they continued going through the Wicked Bible, examining each page carefully. However, the code remained incomplete. Charlotte's son Thomas, who was skilled in music, noticed something unusual. He pointed out that the symbols resembled musical notes such as A, sharps, and B. He rearranged the symbols and translated them into a melody. As the melody played, a hidden pattern began to reveal itself, an ancient message embedded in sound. From this, they discovered that the code had been created by ancient archaeologists from Egypt. These were the same people who had constructed the pyramids of Giza and had used music as a language to encode their secrets. The melody led them to their next destination, Giza, Egypt. At another location, Mr. Elder and Esme discussed the ongoing mission. Mr. Elder stated that the water of the Fountain of Youth would eventually reach whoever was destined to find it. But the real matter was whether that person would be good or evil. After saying this, he handed Esme a cross-shaped seal. The pyramids of Giza appeared beneath the golden sky as Luke and his team arrived aboard Owen's private jet. They had already scanned the structure of the pyramids from above, identifying all pathways and hidden routes. Owen had hired many local guides who waited outside the pyramids, ready for instructions. Later, Owen and his team moved inside, guided by one of the men. Eventually, the path came to an abrupt end. The guide turned to them and said that all the paths ended there and asked what they intended to do now. Owen responded that there was a hidden path. As they began shifting and disturbing nearby objects to reveal it, the guide stopped them and warned that they should not proceed. Without hesitation, Owen shot him. Everyone was left shocked by Owen's sudden and ruthless action. Meanwhile, Jamal Abbas's team arrived outside the pyramids. A fierce clash broke out, and Owen's men engaged in battle with Jamal's forces. Esme's team also appeared and joined the fight, opposing Owen's men. Eventually, Jamal Abbas and Esme united, realizing they shared a common goal. Inside the pyramid, Luke and his team reached a secret chamber where they discovered a large circular stone sealed tightly with a powerful metal cover. They were left puzzled as to how people thousands of years ago had moved something so massive. Thomas began to inspect the chamber carefully. His eyes traced the ancient symbols etched into the stone walls and the massive platform at the center. Trusting his instincts, Thomas picked up a nearby hand drum-like instrument. Noting its similarity to a musical pattern he had previously decoded, he started to play, a soft rhythm at first, gradually building in precision. To everyone's amazement, the chamber responded. The stone circle began to tremble, and a deep rumbling sound echoed as it slowly descended into the ground. Dust cascaded from above as ancient gears awakened. Thomas had activated a long-lost mechanism. The group proceeded through a hidden doorway and eventually arrived at a deep pit. At the far end of the chasm lay a small, eye-shaped structure with a hole in its center through which a delicate stream of water flowed. However, there was no visible way to reach the source. Luke noticed a flat plate embedded with a glowing blue stone. When he activated it, stairs began to emerge from the structure, forming a bridge-like path across the pit. One by one, the team carefully descended toward the water. Upon reaching the base, Luke turned to Owen and stated that this was the water he had wanted, and told him to go ahead and drink it to heal himself. But Owen replied that all of them were there with him now and insisted they should drink too. It was then revealed that Owen never had cancer. He had lied. His only goal was to reach the Fountain of Youth at any cost. When Luke refused to drink, Owen became furious. He pointed his gun at Luke and shouted that he would drink it and that he needed to live and had to drink the water. As Luke stepped forward, a drop of his blood fell into the water. Instantly, the water lifted him into the air and showed him a vision. He saw that drinking the water would cost him something deeply precious. His sister and her son appeared in grave danger. Horrified, Luke refused to drink it. Owen, desperate and unrelenting, stepped ahead and slashed his own hand. The water lifted him too. As he drank, it turned into a curse, because the one thing he had loved most was himself. The pyramid began to shake. Its ancient structure started collapsing. Esme and her team arrived at the scene. Using Mr. Elder's seal, Esme found an escape route. Everyone managed to flee before the entire pyramid crumbled. In the end, Jamal Abbas forgave Luke. Esme and Luke shared a cute moment and end by showing Luke